Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. In the last session, we discussed the theory of ownership. So we talked about the definition. What exactly is the definition of private ownership? And we also talked about the three causes that if someone want to acquire ownership, what are the three causes? Contract, inheritance, and the rule of first possession. So we talked about the causes, and then we talked about the divisions of the private ownership. It goes to two divisions of ownership, which is a complete ownership and then incomplete ownership. So when we discussed the incomplete ownership, we talked about the three types of incomplete ownership. So incomplete means you have the ownership on Usufruct, or you have the ownership of on the property, but you don't have the entire ownership to sell or exchange with something, because that's because you are not the owner of the entire property. That's because you are dealing with someone. So when you are dealing with someone through your property, you are becoming the incomplete owner. For example, you have an apartment and you gave it to someone for renting. So someone is staying there as a tenant. So in this case, you are the owner, but you are not complete owner, because there is also a beneficial owner. What I mean by the beneficial owner, the one who stays in the house, who utilize the usufruct of the house, we call him beneficial owner. So the tenant is the beneficial owner. So in this case, you are not supposed to sell your property or use it for other purpose, because you are already in some dealing. So this is an example of incomplete ownership. Then again, we talked about three types of them. We talked about the ownership over rights. This is what we call hukuk al-irtifaq. Then we talked about ownership over property, and then ownership over usufruct. So what do I mean by ownership over usufruct? It is very simple. For example, if someone is staying in your house, so the tenant, the person who stay, he is the owner of the usufruct. So we can also call him beneficial owner. You can call him beneficial owner. So this can be obtained. This ownership can be obtained from ijara, which is actually leasing or renting. It can be also obtained from i'ara, which we call it borrowing. Because when someone borrow, for example, your friend wants to borrow your car for 2 days. Usually when you lend your car to your friend, you are not going to charge him because he's a friend. So this is what we call borrowing. Again, in this condition, the borrowing, your friend is becoming the beneficial owner. The only difference is actually you are not charging him, but still your friend can become the beneficial owner. So these are the examples for ownership over usufruct. Okay, so today what we are going to see is the continuation. We are going to talk about a couple of related issues, related things to this milkiyah, the ownership. The first one is the characteristic of ownership. As you can see in the slide, what is the major characteristic of ownership over usufruct? Okay, now you already know that someone is residing in your house. So you are the owner of the house and you gave it to someone, so he is your tenant. So now there are a couple of characteristic for it. So we can just see, you can easily understand it because I have already highlighted as bold. I have bolded few words. You can see the first one is actually he is restricted to time and place and conditions, and it is temporary. Because when you ask someone, when someone is asking for leasing, for renting, definitely you will be agreeing, okay, you can stay from this day to this day, this date to this date, or maybe this month to this month. This is the time and this is the place. So this is all restricted. Number two, a beneficial owner could also be subjected certain conditions. You can actually, he can actually agree to some conditions. When you do the agreement, you can say that, okay, you have to pay 2 months deposit. So usually we say 2 plus 1, which means a 2 months deposit, and the plus 1 means the current month rental. We call it 2 plus 1. This is also some sort of conditions can be given. You can say that, okay, you can stay here, but this room is not for you. Or maybe you can say that you can stay here, but you should not change the lock. And you stay here, but you have to pay certain bills like electric bill, water bill. You know, some places it covers everything when you pay the rental. But in some places, they don't cover at all. You have to pay yourself for the current, for the electric, and also the water. So these are the differences are there according to the place, according to the agreement. Number three, this is something that you can think about what we talked earlier. A beneficial ownership is non-transferable upon death to the heirs according to Hanafi. This is only Hanafi. The majority say it's fine. What does it mean? If I stay in your house and I'm your tenant, so what if I passed away? Can my son continue the same tenureship? Can my son continue the same? The majority scholars say yes, fine. It is okay. The son can continue. It happens most of the time when someone renting your shop lot. So he has built the business, developed the business. The father has developed business in your shop lot and you are the owner, and the father is paying you the rental every month. So it's a very good business going on. All of a sudden something happened to the father. Now the son taking care of the business. Can this son continue to pay the rental? Yeah, it is fine according to majority. According to Hanafi, it is not fine. Why it is not fine? Because according to them, Usufruct is not a property. You know that when we talk about the theory of property, we discussed that according to Hanafi, the Usufruct is not a property. It has a financial value, but it is not a property. It comes together with the land or the apartment or with any other property. So it is not considered separately a property. That is the reason why, according to Hanafi, yes, it is not transferable, but at the same time, the agreement can be renewed. What according to Hanafi is, the son will not continue as father, the son will renew a new agreement. This is for the sake of protection. This is also good. You know, if it is under the father's name, why you want to keep under the father's name? Because tomorrow if there is anything, because the father won't come back, right? So it will be better. So what Hanafi says, it will be better for you to go and renew the contract under your name, so that you are renewing under your name and you are the owner of the Usufruct. You are the beneficial owner of the shop. All right. Okay. Number 4, it is a trust contract. Okay, remember the beneficial ownership, it is a trust contract. So if something happened, for example, the property is destroyed, or there is a problem in that property particularly, so now who is responsible? If there's a problem in the property, definitely the tenant is not responsible for it. You are there and you suddenly the furniture gone, furniture destroyed, or suddenly the lamp, the electricity is not working. Suddenly the car engines gone. The car engines, got like overhauled or got repaired. So now who is responsible? The answer is, it is not the tenant. It is not the beneficial owner. It is the real owner. The real owner is the person who's supposed to do maintenance. So he is responsible unless negligence is proven. If it is proven that it's because of the tenant, this problem started, if because of the tenant, I mean because of the one who took your car, and he is the reason why this accident happened, why this problem comes. If this thing proven, if this negligence proven, then of course the beneficial owner, the one who rent your car and your house, will be responsible for it. Otherwise, in normal circumstances, it goes back to the owner. Number 5, a beneficial owner is not responsible for the maintenance expenses of the leased property. But there is a difference. In Ijara, when someone leasing your property and he is not responsible for maintenance, you are the one who's supposed to do the maintenance. He doesn't need to pay for the maintenance. Let's say you are giving him the car on the basis of rental. Of course, he has to fill fuel. He has to fill up the fuel, the petrol, but not necessarily he has to go and change the black oil. He doesn't need to go and change the other oil, the brake oil, or some other thing, because it comes under maintenance, right? But what about i'ara? This is where in our Sharia there is a difference. If someone borrow your car, and he took it from you, let's say for 2 weeks or 1 month, he cannot simply come back and give it to you as it is. He has to do the maintenance and then he has to give it back to you. That's because when someone borrow from you, he didn't do the leasing, because you didn't charge him. He borrow from you, which means that when he give you back, he has to make sure that it is completely, first of all, he has to wash the car. Better he wash the car, and then better he fill up the tank, because most of the time we understand when our friends took our motorcycle, they use it, they give you back with empty tank, and you get angry, right? You all the time get angry. Why? You don't say it because you are too good, but you always think, why this guy is like this? He took my motorbike, but he didn't return with filling the tank. He gave it back to me with empty tank, because when the moment that you come to know that, you get angry. So this is not the right thing to do. That's why when someone borrow from you, or you yourself, you borrow from your friend, make sure that when you return, make sure that you properly maintained, especially you washed it, and then you make sure that you fill the tank for good gesture. This is the good gesture, that you do this, so that at least this guy will be happy to give you back again next time. When you ask, he will say, okay, here it is, come and take my car. So this is what we call the good akhlaq. All right, so this is number 5. Then we have, okay, then we are going to talk about the restrictions on ownership rights. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes, Leon.
so sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
So actually, I want to ask, regarding the ownership over usufruct. Can I say that this concept actually is mentioned, for example, I share with my friend to renting a Grab car or taxi, and because we want to go to the library, our purpose is the same, right? So in this condition, we are sharing the expenses to take the Grab or taxi. So is it the concept of the ownership over usufruct?
Both of you ownership of the Usufruct. Both of you sharing the fare. Am I right?
Yes.
Which means that you are You are the ownership. Both of you ownership. You are both of you equally owners. Both of you equally beneficial ownership. Beneficial owner, which is Usufruct. Beneficial owner or ownership over Usufruct, if both of them are the same word. Okay. So now if both of you doing it, of course you both of you are beneficial owner. The one who drives the car is the real owner. All right.
Oh, so is it my concept is correct, sir?
You,
Like,
you 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 didn't have the concept, Leon. You just mentioned that you are sharing the cab. That's all. What is your
oh,
what is your concept?
so can I say that in this condition, it is ownership over usufruct?
Definitely. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. If you are residing somebody's house, if you are using somebody's service for months, if you are using somebody's, for example, you have a account. For example, you have a Netflix account and you are using it. You're using the account, so it's like you are the beneficial owner. You are not the owner of the entire Netflix, right? Are you?
Yes, sir.
So you are the beneficial owner. So everywhere you go and you use some services and you are paying for, let's say you go to theater and then you sit down, you watch movie for 2 hours, you are the beneficial owner. You are not the owner of the entire theater, right? So if you take a bus, you go to Genting, or you go to Genting and you play around there in the exterior parking. I mean the garden and those play whatever it is. You pay some money and then you are using it. You are the beneficial owner. So anywhere you go and you pay for just for time, you say, okay, this is the particular time. This is the particular reason I'm using this. You are not going to entirely use everything. You are actually a beneficial owner. The real owner is the one who actually charge you. When you started charging, Leon, when you started charging, you become the owner. When you
Oh,
when you pay, if you keep on paying, you are the beneficial owner. Is it clear now?
okay. So one more example, like,
Yeah.
okay, now I have a house. So now I'm going. If my friend want to open the party,
Mm,
but if he's my best friend, so I
mm,
just say, never mind lah. You use my house to open the party lah. So
mm.
in this condition, can I say that although I'm the real owner, but I'm not going to charge my friend?
This is not leasing, right? This is not ijara. This is not the. It is called borrowing, iara.
Yes.
Mm.
So in this condition, can I say that it's also the ownership over usul?
Yeah, in this condition also, she is going to be the ownership because she has a responsibility to make sure that the house is safe.
Yes.
It should not be abused. It should be only used for the purpose that you agree.
Yes.
So let's say if you give the key only to open the house and use it for particular reason, then it should be particular reason. It cannot be some other reason. So she is also becoming beneficial owner.
Sir.
Yeah.
So just now you said, so like, if I want to take a taxi to a place, so if the journey is take like 2 hours, so
Mhm.
within 2 hours I'm the benefit owner, right?
Yes, correct.
The real owner is the taxi driver.
Yes,
So
correct.
he is the real owner who is going to charge me.
Exactly. That's why as long as you are paying, you are the beneficial owner.
Oh, okay, okay. I understand. Understood. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, okay. So this is what we call Usufruct. So we are talking about all this because we need to understand that when you talk about the ownership, it is not only that we are talking about the ownership of the property or ownership of the car. Here we are also discussing the ownership of your particular time, particular condition, because you are also owner for particular thing. As I told you just now, even you are using a certain hall for some program. Maybe you are not the owner of the hall, but you are actually the owner of that particular time, because the time is actually yours because you already paid for it. This is what we call usufruct, manfa'a. Manfa'a. This is the owner becoming owner of the manfa'a. So we are here talking about this thing. What are the characteristics of this kind of ownership? All right. So similarly, you have the ownership over property, ownership over ownership. What we talked about earlier, the hukukul irtifaq, ownership over rights. So these are the things that this is the reason why we are discussing in this particular subject. So now let's go and talk about the restrictions. So what are the restrictions? I know you become the owner, but is it that once you become the owner, you can do anything? According to Sharia, it's not. Even though you become the owner, you bought it, you spend your time and you spend your money to buy something. Still, there are restrictions from the Sharia. It's not open. You can do anything with it. It's not open that you can own anything. There are restrictions. So the right to own property is not an absolute right, but it is subject to certain conditions. Number one, you cannot acquire ownership over public properties. Okay, no one can do that. Public properties, it's meant for everybody. Number two, you cannot own the prohibited items. As a Muslim, you cannot own wine and pigs. And these are the things actually, according to Sharia, it is not a valuable property. Like last time we discussed this. That's why we discussed that thing before. We discussed in theory of property, we talked about it. What are the things like valuable properties? What are the things that invaluable properties? So we talked about it. Whenever there is a prohibited items comes like wine and pigs, these are the properties. It is not valuable properties. So you cannot acquire ownership on it. Also, Muslim should bound to observe certain limitation in earning those properties, even though this is number three, also very, very important. Yeah, number three is very important, which means you are going to acquire a permitted property. Because number two, I said you are not supposed to, you are not allowed to acquire prohibited property, but you can acquire halal property. For example, you can acquire a car, you can become the owner of the car, but however, you cannot use unlawful means. You cannot earn through unlawful means, and then with that money you cannot become the owner of the car. For example, can I become owner of a halal product but with haram money? I used to tell this example all the time. You know, sometimes Muslims are thinking, always go everywhere, they're looking for halal chicken, right? Muslims always look for halal food. Is it halal? Is it halal? But the thing is, yes, as a Muslim, I'm looking for halal chicken, but in my pocket, the money that I have, is it halal money? Sometimes it happens that I use the haram money to eat halal chicken. So how it is actually justified? I steal some money from someone. I cheated someone. I did some gambling. I I took some interest. You know, the usuri, yeah, riba. I did the corruption. Especially sometimes if I'm a politician, I took some bribe, raswa. So these are the money. It is a haram money. So what is the point of talking about halal chicken using haram money? So this is what here You need to understand number 3 is very important. In acquiring ownership over other properties, a Muslim is bound to observe certain limitation. For instance, he has to avoid unlawful means of earning, such as usuri, gambling, trade in haram goods, cheating, corruption, stealing, and unlawfully taking other people's money. Right? So this is very, very important. Then the difference between this slide and the next slide is the first one is restriction related during your acquisition of ownership. Before the ownership, these are the restriction. And what are the restriction after the ownership? Once you become the owner of the house, once you become the owner of the car, once you become the owner of the food items, what are the restrictions? Okay, Muslim has so many restrictions, right? That's the reason why it is called that dunya sijnul mu'min, which means that this world is actually a prison for Muslim, because in prison you have to go through so many restrictions, right? It's a happy ending universe, but still as a Muslim there are so many restrictions we need to follow. Why we need to follow these restrictions? Because this is all the well-being for the people. So we need to sacrifice ourselves for the well-being, for the maslaha, for the sujahtara, for the entire ummah. That's why we are not allowed to, like previously we said, we thought we are not allowed to own any public properties. We are not allowed to own any prohibited things. We are not allowed to um, earn something through unlawful means. So now we are talking about after you become the owner of something, you have what are the things that you need to observe. Muslim is commanded to spend his wealth for the sake of Allah and help his nears of kin and the poor by giving them their due, which we call it zakat. So every time you earn something, you have the property, make sure that you pay zakat for it. Zakat is actually compulsory on every Muslim. This is a charity, this is a sadaqah, this is actually like a tax alms. This is compulsory on every Muslim that he has to pay the zakat. He is also prohibited from wastage. Kulu washrabu wala tusrifu. Allah says in Quran, you eat whatever you want, you drink whatever you want, but you are not supposed to waste. You cannot waste. Allah said it because wasting is actually, do you know what is the hukum of wasting? Anyone? Because when it comes to wasting, we are not that much serious about it. When Allah said do not waste, it is a direct order. So it is a command. Do you know the rulings of wasting? Wasting is haram. We don't see it that way. Do you know why? Because there is no reaction to wastage. For example, why we say killing is haram? Because when I kill someone and someone can kill me, so that's the reason why I say killing is haram. When I say stealing is haram, because when I steal someone might steal my property. So I agree, stealing is haram. Cheating is haram, lying is haram. All these things, bad things these are the things that we call it haram. That's because there is a reaction to it. But when someone wasting, what is the reaction? First of all, there is no rule. You can see that any country, whether they believe in religion or not, still they agree killing is prohibited. Stealing is prohibited. So there's a certain law always give you punishment. In every country, if you kill, they don't appreciate you. Definitely if someone killing, definitely he will also get the same kind of punishment. In fact, for the first degree murder, country like United States, still verdict is actually murder. If it is a first degree, if it is proven first degree murder, he will be hanged. He or she will be hanged. So it is not only Sharia talks about hudud, even country like United States still practicing hudud in their own way. So what I'm trying to tell, if these kind of act, if someone do, there is a reaction. But when it comes to wastage, there is no certain rule comes and say that, oh, you wasted it, so you should go to prison. But when Allah talks about wasting, He says, do not waste. It's a direct order, which means it comes from Allah, which means it's like what Allah said, do not drink wine. When Allah said, do not drink wine, we see that as a haram. Drinking wine is haram. But when Allah said, do not waste, we don't say it haram. How pathetic we are. How injustice we are. When Allah said, do not do adultery, adultery is a haram. We agreed, okay, adultery is haram because Allah said, do not do adultery. But when Allah said, do not do wasting, we didn't say it haram. We saw it's okay. If you waste, it's fine. But make sure you don't waste. Just make sure. But wasting is actually haram. It is as equal as other things because Allah said, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. In other words, Allah said, the one who do israf, he is actually a friend of shaitan because shaitan always likes to do israf. So wasting is, because when I waste something, remember, when I throw my food, when I don't eat, maybe I had extra, I wanted to throw. I'm not throwing my food. I am throwing somebody's food. We need to understand this. This is the reaction. Because when Allah sent Adam alayhi He actually told, you go there, you will have enough sustenance. We will be sending the sustenance to all of you. When Adam came to this world, this was the instruction given. There is enough sustenance and we will give it to everybody. And if I take extra sustenance and then I don't eat it and then I throw, I took extra, I took 2 plates of biryani because I wanted to eat, but I have very small stomach, I only ate one. The other one, what I do? I throw. When I throw that food, I actually throwing somebody's food in the world because there are still people who are poor and they are hungry. They are really hungry. So there is a connection. Maybe they are in Africa. Maybe they are in South America. Maybe they are in other countries. Maybe in India. It doesn't matter. The moment that I throw something here, I am throwing somebody's food. That is the reason why it is haram. Allah said, Quran, Kulu washrabu wa la tusrifu. So Muslim is prohibited from wastage. We don't take it that serious. That's because there is no law. Killing is prohibited. We take it as serious because we know police will come and catch us. Stealing, we took it serious because we know there is a CCTV, the police will come and catch us. But wasting, we are not serious. So this is a takeaway from today's class. So make sure that you tell everybody wasting is haram. It's not only in food, it is also in clothing, it is also in everything that you are doing, consuming. If it is a boys, if you are wasting, buying more shoes and you are throwing away, buy more jeans and you are throwing away, it is also haram. For girls, if you are buying more makeups and more dresses and then you are not using it and you are throwing away, it is again haram. So we need to buy only the thing that we need so that it can be available for everybody. We need to bring this attitude from the beginning so that we can tell our children, our siblings, we can become the model for them. A Muslim must invest his wealth in a useful way that would boost the economy and create job opportunities. This is also something after you acquire wealth, when you have enough money, make sure that you don't keep that money. Do not keep it like fixed asset. Do not keep it in a bank and wait until you get interest. This is another way of people looking for money because they become lazy. They just looking for some interest from the bank. They say, okay, I have 500,000 ringgit. I put it in the bank and let me have the interest every month and then I spend. This is actually a lazy way of doing. This is not actually investment. The investment is you put investment in company, share market, or you create a job market and you use for a Muslim must invest his wealth, must invest his wealth so that other people get job. We must be part of the economy. That's why even Pachi and Machi, the one who is selling just few nuggets or a kwe, huh? All these things in Pasar Ramadan, she or he is lot and lot better than someone who keep money in the bank. Because the person, the millionaire keeping money in the bank, he is just keeping it. But this Pachi and Machi, she is only getting 100 ringgit or 200 ringgit per day, but she keep on putting that money for the next day, and she is serving you so that you go and you buy. So she is boosting the economy. Remember that. Small kind of people do that. Sometimes the big people, they don't do. The owner is free to exercise his right over his property. However, he must use it, his right, in a permissible way that would not violate other people's rights. That's why when you are building the house, you make sure that you don't obstruct the light from the sunlight. You don't obstruct the sunlight for others. You can build, but you have to also make sure that your neighbor is not get hurt because of your building. Then we talk about abuse of ownership. This is where the state will come. When someone abusing the ownership, the state may interfere. Even the state can also ask your property for the purpose of the development. Let's say there is a property, and that property comes on the way that the government wants to build the road. So the government will approach you, and then will give you compensation, or they will give you some other land, some other places. This is for the purpose of the development. Also, if you have the property and you are not using it, also government can take it and put it in the right way so it can be useful. And there is an example for this. You want to know the proof? It happened during Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam time. Prophet gave Bilal, you know Bilal, right? Bilal radiallahu anhu, he gave him a land for agriculture. And when Bilal, during the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam time, Bilal was the agriculture farmer and he was doing farming. But after the demise of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was not able to do that because he was quite busy with da'wah. Bilal was quite busy after the demise of the Prophet. Then Umar went to Bilal and asked, you have to give me back, because Umar was the Khalifa. He said, you have to give me back your land. Everybody said, how can you ask Bilal? Because the land was given by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said, no, it's all right. Because if someone not cultivating, not cropping, I mean not using the land, the land must be taken. So this is also very important. Even though you bought a land, but if you are not using it, if you are not creating some produce, if you are not producing something from the land, the state can come and take your land and then give it to someone who actually can do. The government also has a right to take the private land in order to build highways, roads, hospitals, and other public utilities. See, this is the reason why state and government is very, very important in Sharia. All these things individually cannot be done, but the state will do. Who is state? We are the state, because we are the Shura, and we are the one who appointed the person who can represent us in the parliament. That's why we call him member of parliament. How he became the member of parliament? Because we voted for him. So we are sending a representative from our region, and he has to be part of the state, and he will be inshallah doing all these things. This is very important in Sharia as well. Properties that you cannot own, very, very simple. All the haram properties, nobody can own it. Other than that, the public properties like atmosphere, the free air, the heat coming from the sun, the entire ocean, the entire, the forest, and also the entire mountains, the lakes, all these public belong to public. It is not, cannot belong to private. According to Sharia, Prophet ﷺ said, Muslims are partners in three. See, he said Muslims are partners in three, which means it's a public property. Number one, grass. Grass, you can call it all those, natural resources, all those greeneries, the forest, the trees, all these actually public properties. Water, all the lakes, all the rivers, the wells, also all the dams, the entire ocean belong to everybody. Also the fire. The Prophet said the word fire, that's because the fire is a light. Light must be public. It is not. It cannot be limited private. Private limited. It cannot be private limited. It has to be public. No, it cannot be sustainable. Yeah. So fire means today it could be petrol. It could be light. It could be anything that is helping energy making. For example, we are going to the renewable energy tomorrow. This is also part of fire. Anything that you need energy, it comes from fire. All right. The principle that is laid down in the hadith, that society is declared the owner of the natural resources, public pastures, forests, rivers, inland water resources, soil resources. All these things is actually under. Okay. This includes river, forest, land, mountain, minerals, soil resources. These resources belong to the people. These resources should be under the supervision of the state. That's why this is where public means not like it is public means not like there is no control on it. Public, it is public, the usage is public, but there must be some controller. There must be someone who govern, who do the governing. That's why we call him government. So the state will come and supervise these resources. The state should manage them either directly. Sometimes they can also give it to some private companies. For example, if there is a country need electricity, there is a possibility the government gave it to a private company to manage it. So it is possible to give it to a private company to manage it, but the private company cannot become the owner of the entire electricity. They can only manage. It's called managing. Huh? Okay. Same thing goes to cutting the tree. For example, the government will give. There will be auction. The government will give some kind of logging activities. It's for limited period of time. So they will say, okay, from this day to this day, from this place to this place, you can cut down the tree, and you have to pay a certain amount to the government for that. So this is only for certain limitation is there. So it is not that the government entirely gave it to someone. It's not like that. They give it to you for certain reasons. So this is also comes under state and government. In certain situations, it is possible that public property is transferred into a private property. For instance, land belongs to the public. However, the state may give land to individuals. Even the state can also give it to someone for the purpose of producing. If you go and ask, if you want to make a pasture, or maybe you say that I want to bring some kettles and I want to produce kettles, or I want to bring some agricultural farmings, I want to produce something, the government is ready to give you some land, because there are so many lands. Even in Malaysia, you can see that there are so many lands, unused lands. We have many unused lands. We don't have people to use it. We don't have people. That's because we are not interested, quite interested in going back to agriculture, because agriculture is the most important revenue for the country, and it is the most important revenue for all, because without agricultural product we are not able to live. And today most of the agricultural product, do you know where it comes from? In Malaysia, we are not producing much. More than 70 percentage of the most necessary things that we are eating, we are drinking, including the fruits, the vegetables, the rice and wheat, these are the necessity items. It is not produced in Malaysia. It comes from Thailand, it comes from Indonesia, it comes from Philippines, it comes from India. So many other countries bring sending goods to Malaysia. So when are we going to produce it? Do we have land? Yes, of course we have land. Do we have resources? Yes, we have resources. Alhamdulillah, the water is not a problem in this country. Alhamdulillah, you can see every day raining. There are countries like there is no water at all. There is no groundwater at all. Alhamdulillah, we have all the resources, but we don't have enough manpower to do that. That's because once we graduate, we just want to go and looking for the fancy work, and then, or maybe we work for some other company, or maybe most of the time we work for the foreign company. And we only interested in boosting other countries, foreign countries' economy rather than our own economy. So this is the reason why we need to understand when we are in this Kulliyyah of Economics and Management Sciences, these are the most important things that we need to know what out there. We don't have to simply think, okay, I finish, I graduate, I go and I look for my job. Rather than that, why don't you create job? Why don't you bring engineering in agriculture? Why don't you think about how am I supposed to bring bring these, because these are the things, if you are producing, the government is ready to buy from you, rather than the government now buying from the other countries. If you can produce a lot, the government is ready to buy from you. Even government is ready to help you if you have the intention. You just go and approach Ministry of Agriculture. They are ready to help. They are ready to even fund, give you the fund to do this kind of thing. Every year in budget, they have enough fund, but they don't have enough people. They don't have enough local people to do this job. Most of the time, they are looking for the foreign people. So this is a job the local people should take care of it, should do it. So this is what the hadith say: whoever revives dead land has the right of ownership to it. See, beautiful hadith. There is a dead land, someone went and then he started, doing agriculture. He started becoming, producing something. Prophet said the ownership, he is the owner of the land. This is how Sharia is actually promoting you to become the owner of the land through your effort, not through your money. Most of the time what we say, I want to do this, sir, I want to go for it, sir, but my problem is I don't have money. Money is secondary. Remember, money, there is enough money, there is billions and billions of money everywhere, is in the different account. Not me, maybe it's not in your account, but it's not that difficult to come to your account. It will come to your account if you show some patience that you can do this. If you make yourself qualified that okay, I can do this kind of thing, money will reach you. Money is secondary. Do not think money is first. Money is not primary. Your skill, your enthusiasm, your honesty, your effort, these are the primary things. Property, also there are some property like waqf property, for example mosque and graveyard, this qubur and all, this is also public property. Nobody can own it. Property that belongs to the public treasury by the mal cannot be owned by individual. Also the systems, like we have national system, security, also the taxation system, justice system, the legal system, the mahkama, court, the universities, for example. See, this university is a public university. Medical and health services, infrastructure, public highways, bridges, public library, public parks. This is all cannot become private. It has to be public. Okay. So that's all from me today. So if you
Sir,
have any questions, please go ahead.
sir,